This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. So we knew after Nick Chubb had that devastating knee injury that the Cleveland Browns were going to have to bring in somebody in order to kind of help fill that void. As much as Jerome Ford was promising, Jerome Ford alone can't be your only solution. And I thought when a lot of people were bringing up these names, right? A lot of people were bringing up Jonathan Taylor. A lot of people were bringing up Cam Akers. A lot of people were bringing up names that would kind of slide in here and replace Nick Chubb. I think the Browns were thinking of it as, hey, we got to get a veteran in here to complement Jerome Ford. And that's what I think Kareem Hunt is here to do. I think it's going to look a little bit different than what it has in the past with Kareem. Obviously, there were concerns about if Kareem's play had tailed off a bit, given that his production last year was easily, on average, some of the more lackluster that he's had in his career. But you know, we're going from 4.9, a consistent 4+ yard per carry guy, into 3.8 territory last year. Also had a bunch of like different issues going on with the team last year, so it's kind of surprising to see Kareem Hunt, but it's good to see Kareem Hunt back. At the end of the day, this is somebody who's still only 27 years old, who still was a really good running back, and who was useful for you as early as the early portion of last year. He didn't have a camp period, so he didn't get a bunch of wear and tear. And you know that Kareem Hunt is really useful in short yardage and situations, especially because of how he runs the ball. He likes to just get downhill and not waste much time. And that's what this Browns running back room was missing, quite frankly, with Nick Chubb in there, because I've talked about this before. We've talked about it in the past. Nick Chubb just has not been the greatest short yardage running back in his time in Cleveland, especially. I don't know why I said that like he's played other teams, but he hasn't been a great short yardage running back. And then Jerome Ford, you look at him and he's easily, you can see it visually, about 10 pounds lighter than most the other running backs on the roster at the time, right? Or he's lighter than Kareem Hunt. He's much lighter than Nick Chubb, who I think plays at a legit 235, 240. I think Jerome Ford plays closer to 205. And you see that benefit with Jerome Ford at 205 when he's running routes and he looks kind of smooth. When he's in pass protection, it doesn't help him, but he's good enough there to where it's not a disaster. And, you know, when he's running the ball, I think he has an extra burst that we haven't seen in a while, because even when Nick Chubb's running at full speed, it's pretty fast for a dude his size, but it's pretty fast for a dude his size, not like fast in general. I think Jerome Ford is just in general fast. So I want to use this video, not just talk about Kareem Hunt, where Kareem Hunt slots in to this conversation. And my bad, Kareem Hunt is 28. I think I said he was 27 earlier. But where Kareem Hunt slots in this conversation and what this Browns running game is going to look like without Nick Chubb, because it's a real reality. The first question a lot of people have is, can this running game still be effective without Nick Chubb? I think the answer to that question is yes. How effective? That remains to be seen. I think a lot of that depends on how much juice Kareem Hunt has in the tank, and if that potential that Jerome Ford flashed versus Pittsburgh, is that going to be something we see consistently? Because lost in all of the agony and the talking points and the panic about the quarterback on Monday night was the fact that Jerome Ford went 16 carries, 106 yards. And I have seen people try to discount that already, saying, hey, if you take out 3 of his longest runs, it's not that impressive. Well, of course, if you do that with anybody, their stats aren't going to look impressive if you just take out their biggest plays. But the fact is that Jerome Ford made that play, not because the offensive line created it for him, but because he created it for himself. And I think that was the most encouraging thing that we saw from Jerome Ford in that game, was he was creating a lot of his own offense, right? When it was there, he took it and he was good with that. But when it became time for him to make a play, he was still able to make a play. And if that's what he's going to be in the NFL, if he's going to be able to find these plays and make them, then the drop off, like, you're not going to be Nick Chubb running game again. Like, you're just not going to be that level. You're going to be worse than you were with Nick Chubb. But the drop off isn't going to be so significant that your run game becomes irrelevant. Right. I don't expect the Browns to have a bad run game. I think that their schemes open up a lot of stuff for a lot of different running backs. I think Kareem Hunt, who's familiar with what they want to do, is somebody who's going to be able to have success in this running game. And I think Jerome Ford has showed a lot of promise early on in his career, especially given the first time that he got real NFL carries in his career. Even in the first game, outside that fumble, obviously people were frustrated with that. But he was finding gaps, getting creases, getting 10-yard chunks in that game as well. So I think Jerome Ford's going to be good. I think Kareem Hunt is going to be a nice addition to have there. The two of them combined aren't going to be as good as having one Nick Chubb. We all know this, but I think it's going to be equivalent to having like a very good running back. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's going to be similar production. Maybe you see, 1,200 yards instead of 1,500 yards. You're not going to be in the rushing title conversation or the most rushing touchdowns, but there are things that they have figured out in the run game that does encourage me that this can live without Nick Chubb. Another thing that I'm very encouraged that I've seen so far in this Browns season is some of the short yardage stuff. Because you look at their 2-point conversion rate is pretty good. You look at when they're on the goal line or their 1-yard stuff, it's been pretty good. They've been able to find production. I think they've figured out something in that short yardage area. I think that Nick Harris at fullback package is unstoppable in short yardage situations, and they should use it more often. And I think that they've been more successful figuring stuff out, partly out of necessity, right? Because the plan used to be, hey, Kareem Hunt is going to run really hard and get a first down. And also with Kareem Hunt coming back, I think what's going to be encouraging about that is that he's coming back and he wants to be back. Last year, it felt like he was here because he had to be here. And you could see that in his run style at times, because we always know Kareem Hunt. I've always said this. Kareem Hunt runs like as if you aimed a shotgun down a barrel and just like, that's how he usually runs. But last year, he was trying to be more patient. He was trying to take less contact. I don't know if that was something that Stump was teaching him, because you heard Stump talk about he wants him to be more patient during the offseason. So maybe that was something that Stump was trying to have him do. But if Kareem Hunt's back running the way that he wants to, running the way that he does well, I think this is going to be good for the Browns. I think their running game is going to be solid. The passing game, again, we got to see more progress with that as time goes on. And I will have a film breakdown on that. It's probably going to come out tomorrow. It's been a long one for me to work on, so I want to make sure all my P's and Q's and everything else, my dot my I's and shit. I want to cross my T's. I want to make sure everything is kind of very polished by the time I get there, because on another note, I've noticed how much misinformation is out there about this game, what the tape says and what people want the tape to say. And I'll say this, when I do the film breakdown tomorrow, I would appreciate if you come into it with an open mind. And I'm going to reiterate this at the beginning of this video. Of the film breakdown video. But I would really appreciate that, because what I'm seeing is a lot of people coming in to watch these film breakdowns or to look at all 22 cut up, and they're coming in with their pre-made solutions, well, no, the pre-made biases, that what they want to be the problem, what they think is the problem. And instead of challenging that with the tape and making sure the tape is saying what they want it to say by challenging it and trying to prove themselves wrong, they're just looking for things to make themselves right. And it's a lot of confirmation bias. It's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of misunderstanding of how things work when it comes to the passing game, how things work when it comes to progressions in the NFL and how those change versus matchup looks and different personnels that you're going to get. So I'm going to do that tomorrow. That's going to drop tomorrow. That's going to be fun. I might do a Q&A today. But just try to come into it with the open mind, because I don't think it's as simple as people want it to be. And people have to be open to it not being as simple as they want it to be. But that's going to be a topic for tomorrow. As far as this Kareem Hunt thing goes, I think this is a good thing for the Browns, bringing in Kareem Hunt, somebody who's familiar with this team, familiar with this organization, familiar with the city, and familiar with the playbook. Makes it a smooth transition for him. And, you know, he gets to have more of an opportunity to have an impact on the game, which is what he's always wanted. And I think that him and Watson, they can really find some stuff out together and really figure this thing out as they keep going. Again, a veteran running back is going to be a really good thing for this room. And as much as it sucks, and it sucks to not have Nick Chubb, it does. And it's not from a strict on the field standpoint that it sucks, because on the field, I think they have enough talent at running back that with Kareem Hunt, Jerome Ford, that they'll be fine. They'll be able to have a good run game, maybe top 10, maybe in the top 15, but they'll be in that range, like 10 to 15, well, 15 to 10. And they'll be pretty good. They won't be elite like they were with Nick Chubb, but they'll be pretty damn good. I think with Nick Chubb going out, though, it's just like that's a lot of people's favorite player. So emotionally, it sucks to know that your favorite player isn't going to be on the field. Like for me, my personal favorite player to watch on the team is Myles Garrett. If Myles Garrett went down, that even though I think the defense can recover from that, emotionally, that's a tough blow, because that's my favorite player to watch on Sundays. He does things. He's great. He's underappreciated in some areas. For a lot of people, that's Nick Chubb, or maybe it's both of those guys, right? It just sucks. I understand it sucks, but I think this room is talented enough, especially with adding Kareem Hunt, that they're going to be able to put together a very respectable, at the very least, run game, if not a good one. If not a good one, because it was good last night. Like, we have to be honest about that, right? Like, Nick Chubb was in there 6.6 yards per carry in that game. Jerome Ford came back in, had 6.4. That's very good. Now, I don't expect Jerome Ford to be 5 yards a carry. I expect us to have a 4 yard per carry. We got used to living that 5.5 yard per carry life with Nick Chubb. We're not living that life no more. We're going to live a lesser but very good 4.8 yards per carry, or 4.5 yards per carry life. It's not as fun, but, you know, it's still good. I think the run game's in a good spot. Wyatt Teller's still a good run blocker, questionable pass blocker at this point, but still a good run blocker. I think Joe Bitonio's still there. Ethan Posick is still there. And Jed Wills is pretty good in run blocking too. So you still have a good run blocking offensive line. You'll still be able to run the ball. You'll still be able to do a lot of things. And I think Kevin Stefanski's scheme and how he opens up the run game with these pin pulls and the creativity that they use in the run game, I think that's still going to be there. You're still going to see stuff with Elijah Moore. You're still going to see stuff with Deshaun Watson. You're still going to be able to open stuff up on the ground and still be able to be a very good rushing team. And I think that's going to be a story at the end of the year, that the rushing, and maybe this is something that people will use maliciously. I hope not. I hope people don't use this to tear down Nick Chubb. But I think one of the stories at the end of the year is going to be, hey, the Browns were able to run the ball still at a very high level, even without Nick Chubb. it would be at a high level with Nick Chubb, but at a high level still, because I think they're a very capable run team, and running the ball is not dependent on one player. It's dependent on a lot of collaboration between a lot of players. So I don't think the run game is going to be a disaster. I think we're going to be fine. This signing Kareem Hunt's a good way in the right direction. But that's why I think. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. You have a great day. Have an even better night.